Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Miner. This weekly no-fluff mindset show arms you with the practical tools you need to get unstuck so you can get exactly what you want out of life. Remember, when you change your mind, your life will follow. Let's get into today's episode. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Unstuck. Thank you all so much for joining me today on another listener Q&A episode. You guys are loving these, and I'm loving answering these questions. So it's a win-win over here on Unstuck. I just want to, before we get into the question, let you all know how much I am appreciating and so grateful for all of the interaction I have gotten about the podcast, about what we're doing here, about this mindset work. I think a lot of you know that it was a scary decision for me to make to head in this direction with my business and starting a new podcast, and being able to connect with you all in this way and go on a deeper level with you and hear your stories and experiences and how things are changing for you and what you're getting out of this means the world to me. So I've been definitely connecting with a lot of you over on Instagram. And if you have something you want to share, go ahead and find me over there and send me a message at Sean Miner over there. But I just want to make sure you all know that it means so much to me to hear your stories. And honestly, every single message I get from you or comment I get or even a share of the podcast or anything, every single one of those I see as mini manifestations. I see them as little affirmations, little signs from the universe pointing me or continuing to point me in this direction with my message and what I'm sharing and what is resonating with you and how you are taking this work and really applying it to your life and seeing some fantastic results. And that's my whole goal. And that is really my purpose here, is to help women become the best version of themselves. And just knowing that you are taking all of this in means so much to me, and hearing those stories. So I just wanted to make sure you all know that I don't take any of those lightly. I read every single one. I try to reply to all of them. And it really, truly does light me up from the inside. So thank you all so much for sending me those messages and for connecting with me. And if you haven't, and you have something that you want to ask or share or anything like that, I'm over there. Just find me over there. It'll be so fun. Before we get into the question, I do just have to let you know, I apologize if I sound a little hoarse and weird today. I had a little coughing attack this morning. I think I might be trying to fight something. And so don't worry, I'm fine, but I'm a little hoarse right now. Hopefully it doesn't come across in this episode, but it might. We're going on anyway. Going on with the show. I took my Kick-Ass Immune, which I am loving. If you guys ever get sick or feel like you're getting sick, or if someone in your family has even just the hint of sickness, take some Kick-Ass Immune by Wish Garden Herbs. It works fantastically. I've been doing it for years. That's just a little side note there. All right, let's get into the question for today, which is all about family. And unfortunately, what happened, speaking of Instagram messages, I got this message as a question for the show, and I read it quickly and then went to accept it, to respond to it, and reply to it, and tell her that I was going to definitely answer it for her. And then it was gone. So I accidentally, I think, hit the decline button instead of the accept button. And I couldn't go back to undo it. I couldn't figure out where it was or how to find it, or if it's just gone forever. And I still don't know where it is. So I think that's what happened. And I apologize if that was you and your question is now gone. And now I have to kind of summarize based on what I remember, which unfortunately I only read it once. So it's going to be a major summary based on what I remember, but I think it still was such a good question. And I think this is actually a really common situation that a lot of us find ourselves in. So the question, as I remember it or understood it, was basically this. When my daughter and husband come home for the day, my vibration lowers. I get grumpy, irritable, I'm short with them, They're starting to notice. They feel my crabbiness. They feel my low vibe. Why do I do this? And she made sure to mention that her kids are great. Her husband is great. Relationships are all good. The situation is fine. But for some reason, when it goes from being just her, and I believe she has a younger child, and it's when it's the two of them, she feels awesome. And then as soon as the rest of the family comes home later on in the day, her vibration lowers. So that is the basis of the question that I'm going to answer today. And as you can see, this is a question that really comes from kind of the family under the same roof type of family situation. But I do really think that what we're going to talk about today applies to all family scenarios. So you might have a situation where it's your parents and you don't live with them, but when you do go visit them or they come visit you, this happens to you or your sister or your aunt or uncle, something like that. So I do want you to know that this does apply to any sort of familial relationship at all, and really even anyone in your life where when you get around them, your vibration changes. And I think there's a little bit more of a nuance to if it's like a coworker or a friend, something like that. And I think we've talked about that in the past, and I'm sure it will come up many more times in the future on this show. So keep that in mind, that I think there's a little bit more underneath some of those relationships. But still, take the advice given today and apply it to any scenario when you're with somebody else or in another situation where your vibration lowers. Now, of course, there is also a caveat here, which is to say that I am not a mom. I do not have kids. I have fur children, and that is plenty for me. So I don't know truly what it's like. Now, I will say I do have a sister who lives very close by. She has 4 kids. Right now, they are ages, 12 to 4. So 4 kids in that age range. I've babysat for them. I have babysat for them for days at a time and nights at a time. And personally, I, at points in that time, didn't know if I was going to make it out alive. So I do understand a little bit about the immense amount of work and time and sacrifice that it takes to be a mom. And I do also think that I can definitely very much see and relate to there being times where you are not in a high vibe place in the work that is involved in being a mom. So I did just want to get that out there and make sure you understand where I'm coming from, because I'm definitely in nothing that I say today telling you that, you're making a big deal out of nothing, that it's not hard, that there aren't going to be moments where you just aren't high vibe and you should try to be in this high vibe place every single moment when you're momming, which is what I will continue to call it because I like that as a verb. When you're momming, you will not always be in this high vibe place. And I understand that, and I don't expect that, and you shouldn't expect that of yourself. So just know that. All right, let's get into what I think might be going on in this scenario. I think there is a low vibe story attached to this scenario where when the rest of the family comes home and it goes from one child to a husband and another child, then it turns into quiet time's over. Now it's time for chaos. Now it's loud and messy. Now I have to put on my perfect mom hat. I have to do all the things. I have to be all the people. I have to give to everyone else. And then, of course, thoughts turn into emotions. So then the emotions that come along with that are like annoyance, frustration, anger, disappointment, those low vibe emotions that we talk about, because you have created a story around that time of your day that is not high vibe, that is not positive, that yes, of course, I'm sure you're excited to see the rest of your family and that's all great, but you also still have that in the back of your mind, that story of like, okay, now here we go. Now it's this time of day where it's chaos and it's loud and I get into this state of frustration or stress, which stress is only determined by your negative emotions. So there's something underlying that stress, but you get into that state. And I'm not saying that this is the exact story of this particular listener or of you who also may be in this place where getting around certain family members annoys you, but it is still a story underneath that. And that's what you really have to figure out and take some time to dig around and to become more aware of what thoughts go through your mind when that door opens and your family comes running through it. What are those thoughts? Where does your mind go? And then again, of course, where does your emotion go? Which of course then is going to determine your vibrational energy in that moment. So first thing, you've got to do that digging, get out your journal, see what comes up for you. Here's a good question I actually just came across recently that I think is so good for this awareness stage. It definitely works in this situation, but I think it works for like pretty much every situation. So this is a really great journal prompt when you're still in that awareness stage, which is what feels heavy about this? Because we all know that when things feel good, when things are high vibe, when we're feeling in the flow or in alignment with what's going on, things don't feel heavy. They feel light and free and fun and happy and peaceful. And so when things feel heavy, which I think a lot of us can really understand that feeling, like when something's bringing you down, when something's low vibe, when something's off, when you're out of alignment, it feels heavy. So ask yourself, what feels heavy about that moment when my kids and husband come home that then leads me into this low vibe place where I feel irritable and frustrated and angry and annoyed. Then, of course, the second part of the awareness stage is to reframe and rewrite that. Go to the end result. What do you want to feel and have happen when that door does open? Do you want to feel excitement, happiness, peace, joy, comfort that your family is home and all together? Probably. I think that's safe to assume. So that's your end goal. That's what you want. So now you can see the gap of where you are because you've done that digging. You've figured out that story and the emotion that comes with it. And then you can move it towards what you want to feel. So what is the statement, I guess, that you can make? What is the change in thought that you can make when that door opens that feels better, that feels closer to your end goal? So it could be something like, when my family comes home, it's my opportunity to experience their love, express love to them and gratitude for them, and just have fun with my family and with the people I love. So that feels so good, right? That feels really good. And I think that's the goal of a lot of us, is to be able to feel love and gratitude for our family members, whether they're blood relatives or chosen family, and have fun with them. That's really a big goal, I think, for a lot of us. So now you know that that's a thought that you would like to have when this situation happens. So now that it's your new thought, that new thought is going to lead to different emotions. Now we start practicing it. Now we put that into place. We put that into action. And as the situation presents itself, we can kind of see that initial thought or what we're used to thinking. Because remember, it's a practice. It's going to take time. You still have that default place that your brain is wired to think when your family does come home, but you can change it. Of course, you can rewire that to, or redesign, like I like to say, that thought to be something that feels a little better, which is now this new thought that you have created for yourself. So you see that old thought pattern, and then you're like, okay, cool, I see you, but I'm actually going to think this instead. And then you turn to your better feeling thought. And then you continue to do that as a practice, and that reprogramming, that redesigning will take place. And from there, without us even really having to try, although I will give you some tips on how to kind of jumpstart this, your actions change. Your emotions have changed. So instead of feeling that annoyance, that irritability, you now are happy and joyful and at peace and calm when your family does all come together. And your actions start to show that instead of the alternative. So what you say, how you interact with them, how you are when you're making dinner and you're cleaning and you're going through bath time, all that stuff, it shifts. It comes from a different place, a different emotion, and your whole family feels it, you feel it, and your actions show it. Now, there's one other aspect to this, because obviously the reason that you started even thinking that negative thought or having that negative story around the time when your family does come home is because there's something about that time that got you there. So you really do need to do a little additional work here and find those sticky points. And this is when it'll be much easier, and it will happen a lot quicker for you to redesign those thoughts, is when you can kind of also alter your approach or even your thoughts around those sticky points of being a mom, of being a wife, the things that have brought down your vibe in that place already. So for instance, it could be like, as soon as they come home, that means that you have to start cooking dinner, and then there's going to be a huge mess from dinner, and then you have to clean that up. And then it turns into bath time, and that's always a hard situation because your kids don't like the bath. And then bedtime is always a fight and a struggle. Like you've gotten to this place where kind of stuff has happened in that scenario that, of course, got you to that low vibe thought. And so now it would be helpful to work on your perception of those things. All of this is going to play into each other. But think about, it's not like you're not going to have to make dinner and get the kids into a bath and get the kids into bed. That stuff isn't going to go anywhere. That's part of momming. But is it because you have gotten to a place where you feel like you have to do it all perfectly, where you're feeling maybe overwhelmed, maybe you need some help or you need to shift roles, maybe you just need a night off occasionally? What can you do to go from this place where it's all like this to-do list, these awful chores, to a place where it's fun and enjoyable? Which, like I said, I know that being a mom is not always fun and enjoyable. I know having to clean up after dinner isn't always fun and enjoyable, but what can you do? Can you shift it just a little bit to then go along with this new thought, which is that I want to have fun with my family. I want to connect with my family. I want to enjoy this time with them, whatever your new thought is. So let's think about it. Maybe it's just asking your husband to switch around some of the tasks. Maybe you take a few nights a week where he cooks dinner. Maybe your husband's not a great cook or would never touch any of your dinner activities, but then maybe he can clean up after dinner, or maybe he can do something to entertain the kids so you can have quiet time while you make dinner. And at that point, then you can put on your favorite album, go to town on your dinner, or listen to a podcast with your earbuds in, something like that, where then making dinner and preparing dinner is enjoyable. You have actually some time to yourself when you go into the kitchen to make dinner. So maybe there's a simple kind of shift that you can do there. Maybe it's sneaking away for 5 minutes during that time from when that door opens and your family walks in until bedtime, where again, you're asking for help or you're putting them into doing something that they can do on their own, and you sneak away for 5 minutes and you do a meditation, or you listen to some music, or you do some stretching or yoga, or you even go for a little walk, something like that, where you're still getting in some me time and some quiet time in the midst of what you thought or had come to think of as this horrible time of your day, like the not fun aspect of your day. Maybe it's that you come up with this really fun, good, connecting nightly routine with your kids where you play a game after dinner, or during dinner, you ask them about the best part of their day, what they're grateful for, and you have a conversation around that, a really high vibe conversation. Or maybe that's even something that you can do with your kids or with your spouse when you're cooking dinner, so that again, you're having this really high vibe situation of something that normally doesn't feel that good to you. So that might be another thing. And one last thing that I think is super important is to have something that's really juicy and yummy for yourself once the kids go to bed, because then if worse comes to worse and things just aren't going super well during that time, at least you know that on the other end of bedtime is a really amazing thing for you that gets you into alignment, gets you right back in, because that will actually keep you on the up and up. It will keep you high vibe during that time because you know that's coming and you're looking forward to it. You're excited for it. So maybe it is that you get into a ritual where you take a bath and you listen to music, or you read a book, or you do some yoga, some meditation, something where it just feels really good, like it's just a sweet spot for you. And that happens every night. And so you have something to look forward to every night. So basically, to sum up, I have one other thing I want to talk about, but to sum all of this part up, what you're doing is kind of seeking out that story that you have around what happens in that situation that puts you into a low vibe, and you're changing your tune. You're redesigning that story. And then in order to get you from old story to new story, you're kind of emphasizing that new story. You're proving that new story right, that you can have fun, that momming doesn't have to be perfect, that making dinner and cleaning up dinner doesn't have to be awful, that you can do it all, that you can connect with your family, that you can have a good time during this time of your day. You can stay in alignment, you can stay peaceful and enjoy it. That's what you are trying to do. So you're reinforcing that through some changing of actions too, which, like I said, your actions are going to automatically change when that's your story. But then we also can work on changing our actions to solidify your story. So I hope you see that that's a full cycle that happens, and it really helps to do both. You're just thinking of ways to make that new story true. And then you can go back to having fun and connecting and feeling enjoyment when your whole family is together. What I want to talk about secondly is autopilot mode. And we talk about this a lot here on Unstuck. I have a whole free 7-day mini course on autopilot mode. If you want to do that, you can head to seanminer.com/autopilot-challenge, which I'll put in the show notes. Really fun, really easy, 15 minutes a day where you are connecting or getting out of autopilot, I guess. But anyway, what I think is that momming comes with autopilot mode very commonly. That means we detach from ourselves, we detach from our thoughts and our emotions and actions, and just kind of go through our repetitive, like, this is what we do. This is what we do for dinner. This is what we do for bath time. This is what we do for bedtime. And it just comes with disconnection. That's all it is. So that means that we lose track of this sense of peace we're after, the sense of purpose that we have or desire, and the positivity that we're working towards. You know, those P's I love so much. We lose track of all of that, and we definitely get out of the present moment, which is so important, we know. What happens here is that without us knowing or without us wanting or even considering, we put ourselves on the back burner because we are a mom. And when this happens, it is automatic, low vibe, negative place. We do not have to do that in order to take care of our family. You do not have to sacrifice yourself or your desires or your vibration to be a mom. So I think we can all agree that you are a better mom, you are a better spouse, you are a better partner, you're a better coworker, you're a better boss, you're a better whatever when you are in alignment, when you are positive, when you have a higher vibration. But we can't do that in autopilot mode. So please do not put yourself on the back burner. Do not detach from who you are and who you're trying to be, and keep your peace, presence, purpose, and positivity top of mind always. And I promise you that even when you have to hardcore mom it, and you have to be on with your to-do list, and you have to do all the things and be all the people and be everywhere at once, if you stay in touch with yourself and your energy and your thoughts and emotions and choose how you wish to feel in each moment, it'll be so much better. So I went through all of that, but then I also just had to have a little pep talk. Okay. So stay present, find joy in that moment, even if that moment is cleaning up Cheerios off the floor. Find joy somehow in that moment. I know you can do it. You can choose how to react and respond to that. Know and relax into the fact that it's going to be messy, both literally and figuratively messy. It's going to be imperfect. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's expected, and that's part of life. And that's what makes you who you are and a really good mom and partner and spouse and all those things, is because you've detached from perfection, which is going to be a whole episode in the future. But just keep in touch with you as often as you can, your inner you. If you need to take a few breaths in the middle of cleaning up Cheerios to center yourself, take a few deep breaths, close your eyes, relax, put your shoulders down away from your ears. It's okay. Just remember, it's not just about your family. It's not just about creating a good place, a good life for your family. It's also about having fun for you, creating a good life for you, staying present for you. And that will then bleed into the rest of your life in the best way possible. I will wrap it up on that. Thank you so much for the question. And again, I apologize to the listener who brought that in and then I couldn't read the exact question or even know your name. I really apologize, but I hope you found this useful. And again, I hope that even if you're not in this situation, I hope you can still see how this relates to so many other relationships and situations and scenarios in your life. I hope you can see that. I hope this can translate into when you do go visit your mom, or when your dad comes into town, or when you go to your sister's house, or your cousin comes over for dinner. These people that tend to bring you into a low vibe place, I hope you can see, work through those stories, find a new place you'd rather be, and take action on that. All right, if you enjoyed this episode and know someone who's dealing with a little mom guilt, mom drama, send them my way. You can text them this episode right from your podcast player. Did you know that? It's so easy. Send them this episode, let them know you're thinking of them and you thought they would enjoy it. I appreciate you all so much. Until next time, take care.